I have a love-hate relationship with rhythm games. While on one end, the repetition of a deceptively simple task of tapping notes on a beat can often be relaxing, the building pressure of maintaining my combo in order to get that sweet, satisfying, delectable, full combo is enough to send me into cardiac arrest if I missed even a single note. Also kind of sucks the soul out of my mortal body, so it was long overdue that I find another fun rhythm game to play. So when in October 2020, a new trendy rhythm game released and swept the internet as a pop culture sensation, I didn't play it at all. It's been almost 2 years since the release of Friday Night Funkin', and it's not that I didn't try out the game, it's that its first impression wasn't that impressive to me. But before I tear into it, let me clarify a couple of things. I don't really care so much about the development issues, modder drama, misappropriated funds. I'm just speaking on my own personal enjoyment of the games. I'm not really a member of the community, nor do I really follow the creators in it. And anyways, whatever behind the scenes or public drama is out there, it really doesn't affect my enjoyment of the gameplay itself. Okay, with that out of the way, let's talk about it. Friday Night Funkin' is a mess. Friday Night Funkin' is a rhythm game that was originally developed in the same way that many other successful indie games were, an indie game jam. Game jams are events for game developers that serve as a challenge. Normally, the developer will have some sort of time limit that they need to conceptualize, code, and create their entire game in that time frame. History aside, it's an extremely charming game that has extremely easy to understand gameplay. You just press the buttons. A lot of its charm comes from the artistic style and graphics. You see, with a majority of rhythm games, they will usually either have minimal graphics or put some sort of dark overlay over the background, so the notes are easier to see. However, Funkin' takes a different approach to this. The backgrounds can be quite hectic at times, and even has an effect of the camera panning over to whichever one of the characters is singing. But that's just it. It really isn't a normal rhythm game. It's a song battle. You take turns with your opponent, and you can visibly see your opponent's notes. Although there's definitely a fair portion of people who don't pay attention to the notes on the other side at all, a more experienced player may be able to find value in it, like learning the melody of the next verse or practicing the note pattern simultaneously. And even if you aren't experienced, I'm sure it at least gives you time to mentally prepare yourself. As of writing this video, the game currently has 7 weeks, and each week consists of 3 songs, so in total 21 songs. Unless you count that song about Lemonhead boiling and eating your girlfriend alive. I don't think I can really delay saying this any longer, but I unironically think the songs legitimately slap. Don't get me wrong, some hit, some miss, but I'm gonna be honest, quite a lot of them hit. Especially the further you seem to go on in the game, the better the music seems, at least in my opinion. I'm not some musical expert, so I can't really identify, all those staccatos, melodies, and other musical words. But I don't know, it's just something about unintelligible beeps and boops that invoke such a primal emotion inside of me. It brings back a lot of memories of when I was 12 and used to listen to Sans Undertale font covers of Vocaloid songs. I know a lot of people find the whole unintelligible sounds thing to be a little weird, but honestly, for me, I'm not too averted by it. Most rhythm games are Japanese, and as you can probably tell, I don't really speak much Japanese. A lot of the time, I have to end up looking to translations into the songs I listen to truly understand it. And sometimes I wish I didn't, but let's not get into that. The point is, I'm pretty used to looking past the vocals and lyrics of a song if it sounds good and it flows good. And I think this is a positive to Friday Night Funkin'. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that in summary, Friday Night Funkin' is a very simple game, with a lot of charm to it. Although these things are all worth praising, I have yet to get into the real reason why Friday Night Funkin' blew up into an internet sensation. But before we get to that, let's get to my gripes, and I got a lot of them. Okay, starting off with gripe number 1. The first thing I noticed is that the game is up scroll. Okay, this might be a little hard to explain for people who aren't rhythm gamers or Friday Night Funkin' is their first rhythm game, but there's a certain established standard. We, as human beings, are very used to things falling down. 'Cause you know, gravity. Plenty of 2D games reinforce this with gravity and such, most notably Tetris. Almost every rhythm game has been consistent with this. Up, down, right to left. In pretty much every single rhythm game, the notes will start off at the top and then drift to the bottom where you'll hit them. It's the same concept for games that go from the side. The only games that really break these rules are Project Diva and OS, however, that's only because all their notes go across the screen and it doesn't really traditionally move in one direction. The last game I played that had upscroll was fucking Club Penguin. Usually rhythm games have extremely intense settings like note speed, note sound, music, sound effects, hit sound, note appearance, maybe even a few colorblind settings. Of course, it's not like it needs every complex setting, but ideally it would have at least the essential ones. But Friday Night Funkin' is quite bare. Besides that, I also noticed that sometimes the notes just don't fucking work. I suspect that it's a note offset problem, but I can't really be sure. I can say that the buttons being unresponsive in a rhythm game is a huge problem. I know I'm dwelling a lot on the controls and the lack of settings, but let's be real here. It's a rhythm game. There's not really any other gameplay aspects. As long as the songs are good and the notes are timed correctly and the note charting is fun, it's all up to the controls and how the game feels. It's pretty hard to fuck up a rhythm game. Is it even accurate to criticize Friday Night Funkin' in its current state, considering that the full game release is just around the corner? Well, I think it is what it is. If it's up there, it's out for criticism. Although I'll admit that I have been way too harsh on a game that's quite literally free. Although I do have to bring up the fact that I'm pretty sure that Friday Night Funkin' is past its prime already. Despite the big release being around the corner, there's no shortage of indie games that blow up extremely fast and have a huge wave of fans, but eventually have to burn out of it. Don't get me wrong, those games will likely at the very least have a small cult following, but it's very hard to recapture the same amount of hype as previously. Even if the full release does pump a lot of attention into it, realistically, I don't think it'll quite sweep the internet like it did the first time. And with that said, I'm gonna present the game in its current state, since that's the state of the game that I and many other players have experienced. Although the base game of Friday Night Funkin' is only a singular piece. There's an aspect of games nowadays that is absolutely key to longevity, and that's coding your game in such a way that makes it compatible or easy to make mods of. Friday Night Funkin' is one of the most moddable games in existence. Its code is open source. At first it started with simple things like going into the texture atlas and replacing the sprites with different drawings. You know, pretty cool, right? Just replace the sprites with sand undertale, boom, you got a mod. Maybe if you're feeling spicy, you'd replace the background with different art too. But then it happened, the mod that changed everything. Enter the Versus Witty mod. This is quite definitively one of the most popular Friday Night Funkin' mods to come into existence. And it was one of the first. Everything I just criticized about the game, the hit delay, the upscroll, everything, it was all tightened up and cleaned in the Witty mod. Not just that, but they added in cutscenes, dialogue, new sprites, music, and it all merged incredibly well with the original Friday Night Funkin' style. I cannot stress how much more enjoyable the game is with the additions of this mod, and it's just standard fixes to the base game. Even to this day, newer mods are releasing with these fixes in it. You might have noticed a lot of the background footage in this video is mods, and that's just because there's so many good mods of this game. Mind you, this doesn't mean that every single mod of the game is good. Quite the contrary, because these mods actually get really popular, it's a reality that people are gonna churn out mods just for fame. There's a great video by CyberNex on the same topic if you're interested. Go check it out. Although if you're gonna watch it, please come back. But in case you aren't gonna watch it, here's a very shallow summary. There's Friday Night Funkin' mods that seem to be created solely with the idea because it's a flashy character that's gonna get tons of views and clout via nostalgia bait or trendy games. The original lore, media, or character traits don't matter. All that matters is, look guys, it's Among Us guys, imposter, sus, sussy baka, Among Us. I'm gonna kill myself. But on the other end of that, their mods are actually good and appreciate and act as tribute to popular characters. In fact, many of my favorite mods are actually of these popular characters. I'm gonna sing my absolute praises to the Indie Cross mod. It takes literally every criticism I had about the original base game, utterly dunks on me, throws me into hell before systematically crushing my balls. And oh boy, do I love it! Other than the previously mentioned settings and changes, I literally cannot put into words of how much this mod makes an utter fool out of the base game. It has a story, cutscenes, alternative branching paths with different songs, extra songs, attack and dodge mechanics, ink notes, parry notes, boner notes, an Easter egg song, nightmare mode. Not to mention, they aren't even done yet, and it seems like the next up is gonna be Hollow Knight, my beloved. The amount of dedication to the original games is just amazing. Literally every song in this mod goddamn slaps and was composed by the creme de la crop of the Friday Night Funkin' community. I unapologetically play these absolute bangers in public. I'm not gonna lie, the whole reason I started playing Friday Night Funkin' is solely because of this mod. Previously, when it released back in October 2020, I had a desire to try out Friday Night Funkin' when it had its first burst of popularity. Although I quickly lost interest once I downloaded it and was subsequently utterly turned off once I got too frustrated with the upscroll, unresponsive settings and the general stale settings. I know I'm making a big deal of the upscroll, and trust me, it's not like I couldn't learn to deal with it. To really illustrate how much I wanted to enjoy Friday Night Funkin', I would have to flip my screen upside down, invert my screen display, and remap my key bindings just to play it with down scroll. Only to realize that the notes were unresponsive. I was really only reeled in back to Friday Night Funkin' because of the Indie Cross mod and the sexiness of Sans Undertale. This may be the reason I was too harsh on the original base game. It's because I got the luxury that is the Indie Cross mod. Once I got a taste of the addictive and polished gameplay, responsive notes, and absolute bangers of songs, I don't think I could enjoy the base game nearly as much. And it's on that note that we begin to wrap up this video with my final concluding thoughts. Friday Night Funkin' is a goddamn mess. Especially when in comparison to the mods of the game. The notes aren't responsive, there's no mechanics to spice up the formula, it's missing key components of a rhythm game, lacks any sort of cohesive cutscenes or connecting dialogue to tell a story. Since the Kickstarter launched, it's been almost a year since the last update, leaving the original base game dead in the water. The good news is that it seems like the latest content drops of Funkin' Weeks 6 and 7 have a much higher standard of quality, and in my opinion, I think those weeks have some of the best music in the base game. And the better news is that while the original game has been baking in the oven, the fans have picked up the slack and made extremely expansive mods for the game, some even surpassing the original game. Overall, I will say I'm looking forward to the new release of Friday Night Funkin' whenever that comes out. Rumors say they're prepared to mass drop a whole game instead of drip feeding week by week. I'm pretty sure they intend to go ahead and fix what remaining problems the game has too. There was a false rumor about the devs appropriating the Kickstarter funds to smoke weed, but that was a joke that was blown out of proportion. I hope. Nonetheless, I think Friday Night Funkin' has a bright future, both mods and original game alike. Although unlikely, I hope that the full release brings the original wave of popularity back. Thanks for watching, and I hope you all decide to either try out Funkin' or at least one of the mods for it. Yeah, I'm sure you watched the YouTube video, you know the drill. Like and subscribe, please. My Twitter is in the description. That's probably the easiest place to contact me. Feel free to recommend future topics I should cover. Bye!